Hey guys, my name is Ryan.
And my name is Miska.
And welcome to HitScan. Of course, we spoke to Arcane earlier this week about the balance changes that were coming in this patch. Everybody lost their mind, so let's actually find out what some of these changes to Breach are, the nerfs to Killjoy and Cypher, as well as a couple of other things that were a nice surprise to see in here, Miska.
Also, just before we start, actually, don't forget to hit that sub button, because there's a lot of you that watch that aren't subbed, and we're almost at 350k subs for the first time ever, so that'd be awesome to hit. Anyway, let's get started, and first on the list, we have Skye, who's been added to the game and will now be playable, and it's gonna be well, very exciting time to discover this character with the rest of the world for once, as well, we've played her before and we've sort of discovered the kit a little bit, but now we can actually start to see those crazy Reddit clips and everything else that I'm sure is going to come with that. And she's also been sort of buffed, as there's been a change made to initiators. Skye is an initiator as well, has a bunch of flashes and other utility, and there's been a change made for flashes here. And we're gonna begin with that, and it's initiators, flash tuning. The fade out of the flash debuff remains the same duration, but now fades slower at the start. A dev comment also reads, initiators create concentrated windows of extremely high threat to help their teams break onto sites. To this end, we are slightly increasing the duration of debuffs from some initiator abilities, mostly flashes. Our goal here is to increase the opportunity window that initiators' teammates have to capitalize on their utility and further differentiate initiators from duelists. So how this works is that right at the end of a flash, when it transitions out, you will now still have a harder time seeing for a little bit longer. I tried to visualize this with this sort of graph showing the flash amount over time, and this is the right at the end of the flash duration, the flash transition out, which essentially increases the flash duration for all flashes. So this really affects Breach and Skye, but also other characters that have flashes. So interesting change, did not expect that. But we did hear it sort of coming from Arcane. Just this one and this exact thing was not what I thought they would tweak there.
Yeah, it sounds more complicated than it needs to be in the patch notes, I think, with this. But it makes it even more convoluted when you hear that Breach also had a change to his duration of the full flash timer. Instead of being 1.75 seconds, it'll be 2. So it's fair to say that even though this is a small 0.25 second change, you are definitely going to feel the Breach flashes a lot longer, especially when you add in the flash tuning changes that we highlighted. And yeah, it's super interesting that have gone in this direction. I don't think that the Breach buffs are too destructive, you know what I mean? I don't think he's going to be super strong, but you certainly look at the usage of Phoenix and Reyna, they could do a lot better than Breach in a lot of those cases. So hopefully this brings him up a little bit more in our own ranked games without making him too oppressive like a lot of people were worried about. I think when we see these changes, they look more straightforward now.
Yeah, I'm surprised that this is the way they decided to change the flashes and sort of help the initiators out, but we'll see if it ends up being the change needed. Might be a little bit easy to coordinate with your initiators now, especially with, Breach has been struggling despite getting some buffs and stuff. So hopefully this is the right type of thing and the right type of change. Another change that's coming in specifically to another sort of role and types of characters are to Sentinels. So Sentinels are getting some changes that we did also hear about in our video previously a little bit, but to sum it all up, similar to some of the changes we made with Sage, we want to increase the depth of decision making when playing Sentinels while also providing enemies with more counterplay to trap abilities. To reduce the total potential impact of these abilities, autonomous traps are now disabled when the deployer dies. So, to cut straight to the changes from there, we have Cypher, Trapwire, disabled and revealed upon death, and Spy Camera, disabled and revealed upon death as well. This means that if you kill a Cypher now early on, you won't really have to deal with his traps as well. So if there's a Cypher that goes for an early trade one-on-one, I don't know, let's say defending B site on split, then afterwards you won't have to deal with the traps as well. Meaning that sticking to that Sentinel playstyle will be more encouraged, and also if you do get a kill on a Sentinel early on, and especially Cypher here, you will be rewarded further. Tripwire and camera changes like this though are very welcome, and I feel like it makes sense for the type of role that you're meant to have and how Cypher is kind of meant to be played, and it might help a little bit with how strong Cypher is in certain ranks and certain levels. So it'll be interesting to see what people think of this. But regardless, we have some more changes to another very key character that's, well, been stirring up some issues in all sorts of levels of play.
Yeah, Killjoy is, I think personally, getting buffs with some of these changes, but the general nerf that people will look at is that she has a deactivation range now with her alarm bot and turret. If you are 40 meters away from your turret or the bot, they will not activate, they will not work. So you have to be within the 40 meter range to make sure that these abilities properly work. The upside to that is that the cooldown after picking up your turret and alarm bot is a lot shorter. The turret, instead of waiting 20 seconds to reuse it, it's 10 seconds, and the alarm bot, it goes from 20 seconds to 7. So you can constantly pick up and move your alarm bot to different places, but you just need to be careful that you can't say you're defending on a set, just leave all of your stuff on the A site and then go B. It won't work, and you're just going to be useless in that capacity. Not only that, the range at which the alarm bot can be detected has been decreased, so it should catch more people out, as well as the nanoswarm. The range that the nanoswarm can be detected is down from 5 meters to 3.5 meters, and the damage has gone up too, from 40 damage per second to 45, and it should tick smoother, much like the changes to Brim's Molly, wasn't it, where it shouldn't be as staggered and chunky. It should actually kind of feel like it's doing more consistent damage in a lot of cases, right? So all of these positive changes for Killjoy definitely outweigh the negative side of her deactivation range. The issue that I don't understand is the spy camera and tripwires deactivate upon death for Cypher. It doesn't specifically say in this, even though it suggests it with what Max said, that Killjoy's alarm bot or the turret would deactivate upon death. That's a bit of a grey area that I hope we get a bit of an answer to.
Yeah, a little bit odd actually. We'll get an answer to that sooner rather than later for sure, but I'm surprised that that wasn't really clearly laid out as well, as the Sentinel section kind of suggests that that would be the case. But anyway, we got the deactivation range. That's something they can toy around with as well. 40 meters is a lot though, so interested to see what they actually end up doing there, if they end up tweaking it even further afterwards, because I'm with you. I think this is overall a buff to Killjoy, definitely. Moving on from characters, agents, and just balance tweaks like that, we have some other balance changes, but this is around the economy rule set and this sort of game system. So in this case, we have some updates to the economy and how this works. I'm just going to read straight off this part of the patch notes. Attackers who lose but survive the entire round without planting the spike receive a reduced number of credits, 1000, and defenders who lose but survive the entire round after the spike is detonated also receive reduced credits, 1000. This is similar to how things work in Counter-Strike and just adds a little bit more options and decisions to make. And on top of that, we have dying to the spike will no longer count as a death in KDA statistics, and additional economic information added as a tooltip when hovering over the exclamation mark next to minimum next round in the shop. This is just to also kind of highlight all of this and make players think more about the economy and make those tough decisions. And right now I feel like there's not a whole lot of talk about that. In Counter-Strike, I feel like you're constantly thinking of when you should be saving for a round versus not, but in VALORANT it doesn't feel like it's happening as much. So interested in seeing what this does, and I'm happy to see changes like this.
It's just to punish people, I guess, because if you do save and there's no chance, you could just buy for a teammate on your side as well. If you keep your gun, you should have enough money from the loss bonus to be able to at least buy somebody else another gun, right? So I feel that this is much more punishing of a decision if you get it wrong. And I think it just adds another layer of depth to Valorant that, to be honest, hasn't really been touched on. One of the more exciting changes in here, even though the impact might be small, something that people have been wanting forever, we have a left-handed view model. We're getting it this patch. I was not expecting this. With all of the stuff that we've been getting recently, this is just Christmas come early, to be honest, Miska. We know a guy called Duba that uses left-hand model. I kind of want to interestingly use it to see if there's much impact, but man, people have been talking about it so much and want it so much. Also, as a smaller thing too, that certainly can catch you out if you are playing ranked, Icebox is going into the competitive queue. So just be sure that you know your way around the map just in case. I don't know about Skye though. It seems that she might be going straight into competitive, but it doesn't explicitly say yet again in these patch notes.
Yeah, I also have to say that's another thing that needs to be a little bit clearer, because we actually talked about that last time and we're both a little bit unsure. And the only thing it says about Skye is that she'll be available for use in official esports competition 2 weeks after she's been in competitive queue, which is November 9th, but there's no big thing that's just like, she is in competitive right now. So I'm just gonna assume that she is based on that first sentence. So yeah, watch out for Skye and watch out for Icebox in your games if you're playing comp, because yeah, it seems like they're gonna be there.
Other than that, there's some smaller changes to custom games to play out all rounds in case you're scrimming, and also minor improvements to the Observer Flashed indicator, which you can check out if you watch NA First Strike, so all of the details will be in there. I think it's on the VALORANT Twitch channel as well, so you can keep up to date with all of that, see Sentinels and TSM and all that play. But that's everything mostly in this patch, other than a few bits and pieces. If you want to check out the full patch notes, it's in the description. But I do like these changes. I'm surprised that there's so much in here, and I'm actually kind of glad that these breach buffs really don't seem too bad on the face of it.
Yeah, and it's a patch that has really sort of carved out the specific areas that it was looking to address. It's not really just a general balance pass, you know, it's really looking at some specific areas and trying to change them, both in terms of character balance, but also economy, and just across the whole thing, addressing some issues and quality of life changes that people have been looking to get for quite a while. So it's a good one, that's for sure.
That's everything we wanted to go over. Very excited to see these changes come into the game. Should have some skin videos coming out today soon, so keep an eye out for them. Yes. Of course, subscribe like we mentioned, and we'll see you soon. Take care.
Bye-bye.